Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, leaving your comments. Thanks for your super thanks. Thanks for the donations. Thank you very much. I want to hear your thoughts on this, and I hope somebody does start a UK parliamentary petition to have Meghan Markle's claims investigating and accusations investigated as to the structural racism she and Harry faced in the monarchy, not the royal family, in the monarchy. Because Kerry Kennedy said that that they're getting a bravery award for fighting the structural racism within the monarchy. And I'm going to read you the long what structural racism means, because one of you asked for it. And I thought it would be interesting too, so we know what we're dealing with. Please leave me your comments.
I grew up around Jewish people. I have a lot of Jewish friends, so I'm not freaked out by your culture. I know a little bit about it just from hanging around. I'd be like, yo, let's go out after school tomorrow. They'd be like, we can't go out. It's Shana Na tomorrow. I'd be like, what is Shana Na? I had so many questions. Why do some of your people dress like Run DMC?
Hello, beautiful people. One of my subscribers asked a very good question. What is structural racism? So I actually looked it up. But before I did, that award about bravery and courage and everything, it was just bothering me why it was so familiar. And then it dawned on me. In May 22nd, the ambassador Carolyn Kennedy and her son, Jack Schlossberg, I'm sorry, I hope I'm saying it, will present the 2022 John F. Kennedy Profile in Courage Awards in a live streaming ceremony, which they did. And guess who were the nominees who got this award? This is in May, right? Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, Liz Cheney, a Republican, Jocelyn Benson, Secretary of State of Michigan, a Democrat, Russell Rusty Bowers, House Speaker of Arizona, he's a Republican, and Wandrea Arche Moss, I hope I'm saying her name correctly. She's the former Elections Department employee in Fulton County, Georgia. So these 5 individuals got the award, the Courage Award, I think it said, in May 22nd, earlier this year. So, of course, now we have the R.F. Kennedy Foundation giving an award, but only to Democrats, clearly, and insane awards to one of those people, Harry and Meghan Markle. Basically, they're copying what the JFK Foundation did in 2022. And it was a live stream ceremony that you can watch if you go to the JFK Foundation. And it was Ambassador Carolyn Kennedy and her son who gave the awards. Now, many of you have asked me, actually, one lady said, what is structural racism? So I'll leave this so you can make your comments as to why it's important to maybe start that parliamentary petition in the United Kingdom, asking Parliament to investigate Harry and Meghan Markle's claims, because it's far more serious than what you can actually imagine. So here it is. Institutional racism, which is different than structural racism, is defined as processes, attitudes, and behaviors which amount to discrimination through unwitting prejudice, ignorance, thoughtlessness, and racist stereotyping which disadvantage minority ethnic people. Institutional and structural racism work hand in glove. Institutional racism relates to, for example, the institutions of education, criminal justice, and health. Examples of institutional racism can include actions or inaction within organizations such as the Home Office and the Windrush scandal, because there was a big scandal. So that triggered a study in the United Kingdom to see what was the problem, what was their racism, right? And thanks to this study, measures were taken to prevent it, okay? A school's hair policy, institutional processes such as stop and search, which discriminate against certain groups. Structural racism refers to wider political and social disadvantages within society, such as higher rates of poverty for Black and Pakistani groups, or high rates of death from COVID-19 among people of color. In plain terms, structural racism shapes and affects the lives, well-being, and life chances of people of color. It normalizes historical, cultural, and institutional practices that benefit white people and disadvantage people of color. It also stealthily replicates the racial hierarchy established more than 400 years ago through slavery and colonialism, placing white people at the top and black people at the bottom. Structural racism is enforced through institutional systems like seemingly neutral recruitment policies, which lead to the exclusion of people of color from organizations, positions of power, and social prominence. It exists because of white supremacy, a pattern of beliefs, assumptions, and behaviors which advance the interests of white people and influences decision-making to maintain their dominance. White supremacy lies at the heart of how system and society works. It's the main reason behind inequalities, such as the ethnic pay gap across many institutions, as well as fewer judges and university vice chancellors of color. And you may wonder, how does structural racism work? Okay, structural racism exists in the social, economic, educational, and political systems in society. Many of the issues that come with it have been escalated by the pandemic, including disproportionate deaths of people of color from COVID-19. These challenges have worsened because of existing structural racial inequalities, which mean that Black and Pakistani communities are more likely to work in unskilled jobs. As a result, many have had to work through the pandemic as key workers, increasing their exposure and susceptibility to catching or dying from the virus. So, in fact, large numbers of health workers of color reported being too afraid to complain about the issues they faced, with some being bullied and shamed into seeing patients, despite having no PPE. Their exposure to these inequalities can't be blamed on pessimism or class or culture, but the structures within which they worked. Structural and institutional racism account for underrepresentation in many fields. These barriers are responsible for everything from 4.9 ethnic pay gap between white medical consultants and medical consultants of color, a lack of teachers of color in schools, the 1% of Black professors in university, and the absence of medical training about skin conditions and how they present on Black and brown skin. The examples are endless. It would be easy to blame the people affected, but that would ignore how structural racism works. Black people, for example, can work exceptionally hard, but still encounter significant barriers that can be directly traced to issues of structural racism. Okay? So, it's also tempting to believe that the success of a small selection of people of color means that the same opportunities are available to all. The suggestion being that these gains are evidence of meritocracy, the idea that people can gain power or success through hard work alone. But it ignores the invisible hurdles that on average make the likelihood of achievement for various communities of colors much slimmer than for white people. Okay? So basically, this Kerry Kennedy lady has accused the monarchy, not the royal family, of white supremacy. And what they're trying to say here is that Meghan was discriminated horribly because of her skin color. There was it implies that there was a pay gap, that because she's Black, she can't walk ahead of Prince William and Catherine. That because she's Black, she should be at the front and center. It has nothing to do with the culture of a monarchy. It has nothing to do with that. I mean, for example, Obama walked in front of his vice president. It had nothing to do with the skin color. It's because Obama was the president and the vice president was not. Right now, if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris attended an event, the first one to walk and shake hands with would be the president, because he's the important, the most, he's the president. Kamala Harris is the vice president. So there's hierarchy in every institution. It has nothing to do with color. In the royal family, it's due to birth. But this is basically what we're dealing with, that Meghan is alleging. And this is what, and these assertions were made by Terry Kennedy because of what Meghan and Harry are communicating to them. The fact that this woman went on a social, magazine or something, and issued a statement that Meghan and Harry are going to get an award because they're fighting a structural racism. And I'm sorry I had to read all of this to you, but I thought it important for you to understand what it implies. It means that Meghan was not given the same opportunities. Can you tell me her wedding was more expensive than the wedding of Prince William and Catherine? She got more advantages than Catherine. She got more of a clothing allowance than Catherine. She got the same amount, if not even more staff than Prince William and Catherine. This woman got so many privileges. So where here has she been discriminated? Where did she fight racism? Just for the fact that she has to walk behind somebody, and there's a hierarchy of people within the monarchy, just like in any institution. I would like to see Kerry Kennedy have somebody come and knock her off the top spot, when she's being introduced. I'm sure she'd be really angry if somebody stepped in front of her when she's the most important person in her own organization. Because of course, we all follow protocol. You always have a boss. Everywhere is like that. The pilot is more important than the co-pilot. Everything. The doctor is more important than the nurse, because of course they have different jobs. So they have different places within the organization. Meghan walking behind them, it has nothing to do with skin color. It has to do with protocol. That Harry's sixth in line. He's not to be anywhere there. And yet, this Kerry Kennedy made these assertions, which are terrible, are false, and which is why they have to be investigated. Because this report that I'm reading, this is from a report that they studied, because, the structural racism, how to improve this. This is during the COVID time, right? It had nothing to do with Meghan. It had to do with, what they're trying to do, how to improve these things. And so they came out and they put a lot of things in place. Meghan Markle never fell in this category because she was never discriminated against. She was just told you can't get freebies. That's not allowed. That's actually illegal. You can't bully people. You can't lie so much and think that people say that the monarchy didn't protect her, the PR. There were just too many lies to fight against constantly because of all the lies. She never stopped. If she had only stopped, but she never stopped. She kept on lying. So, she had they had to negotiate with the newspapers for them not to print all the craziness that Meghan Markle was doing. Up to a point that they could no longer do it because Meghan Markle is her own worst enemy with all the lies that she says, all the lies that she, propalates everywhere about her family and about anybody that she thinks has not given her the important VIP place she deserves. What do you guys think? Do you think that she suffered any of this? Now that you've heard the definition of structural racism, please tell me if you think this Meghan Markle fell in this category. Please do tell me. I can't wait to hear your comments.